Have you ever felt like you're always trying to make her happy, but it's never enough? Introduction. Many men believe that to keep a woman interested, they must constantly give, chase, and prove themselves. They think that by doing everything for her, she'll stay. But often, this approach leads to frustration and heartbreak. The problem. When you focus all your energy on pleasing her, you might lose sight of your own needs and desires. You become so wrapped up in making her happy that you forget to take care of yourself. This imbalance can lead to resentment and emotional exhaustion. The Stoic perspective. Stoic philosophy teaches us to find strength and peace within ourselves. Instead of seeking validation from others, we focus on our own values and purpose. By doing so, we become more grounded and less susceptible to manipulation. The solution? By practicing detachment and prioritizing your own life, you create a sense of independence and confidence. This doesn't mean ignoring her or playing games. It means living a fulfilling life where her presence is a bonus, not a necessity. In the next chapters, we'll explore 3 common manipulation tactics and how to counter them using Stoic wisdom. By understanding these tactics, you can maintain your peace and power in any relationship. What if her silence isn't confusion, but a test? The first tactic, the silent withdrawal. One of the most subtle manipulation tactics is silence. She suddenly stops texting, stops calling. She becomes cold. Not because she's necessarily upset, but because she wants to see how you'll react. This is a test. Will you panic? Will you double text? Will you beg for her attention? Many men fall into this trap. They chase harder. They try to fix something that may not even be broken. But here's the truth. When a woman pulls away like this, she's not always looking for love. She's looking for power. Why Stoic detachment works? When you're grounded in Stoic detachment, you don't jump at every shift in her mood. You remain calm. You stay focused on your purpose. You don't chase. Why? Because your peace doesn't depend on her presence. The moment you stop reacting to the silence, you flip the script. You show her and yourself that you're not easily controlled, that you're not afraid of space, that you respect yourself too much to beg for crumbs. Creating space builds value. When you don't rush in to fill the silence, something strange happens. She starts to feel your absence. She starts to wonder about you. Why aren't you chasing? Why aren't you reacting? And that's when attraction can quietly rebuild. Not through force, but through mystery. Your stillness becomes your power. Your peace becomes your magnet. Closing message for this chapter. The man who doesn't fear silence controls the conversation. The man who doesn't chase during absence controls the connection. Detachment is not coldness. It's quiet strength, and it drives emotional curiosity in her mind. Have you ever felt like she starts a fight just to see how much you care? The second tactic, emotional baiting. Some women will trigger arguments over small things, not because they're truly upset, but because they want to stir you emotionally. They want to measure your response. They want to know if they still have emotional control over you. She might accuse you unfairly, twist your words, act distant out of nowhere, and suddenly, you're pulled into a storm you didn't start. This is called emotional baiting. Why most men fail? Most men take the bait. They argue, defend, over-explain, or worse, lose control. They raise their voice, they get emotional, and in that moment, she wins. Not because she's evil, but because you showed her she can push your buttons, that she still owns your mood. And that's power, emotional power, how Stoic men flip. This script. The Stoic man doesn't flinch, he listens. He sees the emotion, but he doesn't feed it. He doesn't need to prove anything, because a grounded man knows peace isn't something you argue for, it's something you protect. When she sees she can't drag you into drama, she shifts. The power dynamic changes. She begins to question the fight. And most importantly, she begins to respect your emotional discipline. Control the temperature of the room. The man who controls his emotions controls the energy of the entire conversation. If you stay calm, everything around you slows down. She starts to match your tone. Her emotions start to settle. You've just flipped the dynamic, and now not with aggression, but with calm presence. Closing message for this chapter. The real test wasn't about the argument. It was about your center. When you keep your center, you stay in control. Emotional baiting only works on those who lack emotional discipline. But a grounded man? He can't be pulled into someone else's storm. He is the calm before, during, and after it. Ever notice how sometimes she makes you feel guilty for simply having a life of your own? The third tactic, guilt-tripping your independence. This one is sneaky. It sounds like care, but it's actually control. You start spending more time at the gym, or maybe working on your business. Maybe you go out with friends, or finally take that trip you've always wanted. And suddenly, she says, "You're too busy for me now." She won't say it in anger. She might even say it with tears. But the message is clear. Your growth makes me feel less important. And if you don't catch it, you'll start shrinking. You'll cancel plans, skip your workouts, dumb down your dreams, just to keep her happy. Most men don't see the trap. You're not being loving by giving up your goals. You're being manipulated. And slowly, you lose your edge, your independence, your power. She says she wants you to be close. But what she's really doing is testing whether your world can be shaken by her disapproval. How Stoic men flip this script. You acknowledge her feelings, but you don't abandon your purpose. You stay gentle, but grounded. You say, "I care about us, but I can't abandon what makes me who I am." You hold the line. Why? Because the man who bows to guilt today will be resented tomorrow. No woman truly respects a man who gives up his fire for her comfort. She may cry in the moment, but she'll crave your strength later. Your independence is not selfish. It's magnetic. Women don't fall for men who orbit around them. They fall for men who live by a higher compass, who have things to do, missions to chase, and a spine that doesn't bend just because someone feels a little uncomfortable. When you keep that independence, you're not being cold. You're being powerful. And real power makes her lean in. Real power makes her curious. Real power makes her loyal. Closing message for this chapter. The man who chooses guilt over growth becomes a shell of himself. But the man who keeps walking, even when tested, becomes unforgettable. Your life doesn't shrink to make someone else feel secure. Your mission expands, and those who truly love you will rise with you, not guilt you into standing still. What if her compliments weren't really compliments at all? The sweet poison. Flattery as a control tool. There's a type of manipulation most men never see coming. It doesn't look like an attack. It doesn't sound like criticism. In fact, it feels good. It sounds sweet, almost too sweet. It's flattery, but not the honest kind, the strategic kind. She starts telling you how amazing you are, how lucky she is, how no one compares to you. And for a moment, it feels incredible. Your ego lights up. You feel 10 feet tall, but then something shifts. Suddenly, she wants you to do things you wouldn't normally do. Change plans, change your behavior, prioritize her over your goals, prove her compliments right, or worse, prove you haven't changed. You're not doing it for her approval. You're doing it to protect the image she gave you. Here's the hidden danger. That praise becomes a leash, a psychological trap. You start thinking, I don't want to lose this version of myself she sees. I have to keep being her perfect guy. I can't mess this up. And that's when you stop being yourself. You stop being free. You become a character, built to match her expectations. Stoic wisdom breaks the spell. A man grounded in himself doesn't need constant praise. He doesn't reject it. But he doesn't build his identity around it either. He knows this truth. If someone's opinion of you changes your behavior, you were never truly in control. So when he hears praise, he accepts it. Calmly, he says thank you, but he doesn't let it steer him. How this flips the script. When she sees that you're not hooked by flattery, when you don't chase praise or shrink at the thought of losing it, she feels something deeper. She realizes you're not swayed by her words. You're centered, rooted, whole. You don't live for approval. You live from purpose. And that kind of man, he's not easy to find. He's not easy to control. He's rare, desired, respected. Final reminder for this chapter. Don't let sweet words blind you to the shifts beneath them. Praise is only powerful when it comes after respect, not in place of it. Because when your identity is built on inner strength, no one can use flattery to bend you. It's no saying. What if silence wasn't peace, but pressure? The manipulation of withdrawal, when she uses distance to test your stability. Most men panic when a woman suddenly grows cold or quiet. She doesn't text back. She becomes vague. She seems distant, almost like she's pulling away. And immediately, your brain starts spinning. What did I do wrong? How do I fix this? Should I chase her? Call her? Show I care? But here's the real question. Why are you trying to fix something you didn't break? This is the tactic most men never see coming. It's not always a punishment. It's a test, a silent one. And it's brilliant because it doesn't look like manipulation. It's just absence. No drama, no fight, just space. And that space, it's filled with doubt, insecurity, confusion. She's watching closely to see how you handle it. Will you break your frame and chase? Will you beg for answers? Will you hand over your power just to feel close again? Or will you stay still? What Stoic detachment teaches you: emotional distance is only powerful if you're afraid of being alone. The man who has a mission, a code, and a life bigger than any one woman doesn't collapse under the weight of silence. He doesn't assume blame. He doesn't panic. He doesn't react. Instead, he leans into his purpose. He stays grounded. He honors the space and lets her come forward if she chooses. Because a man like that knows love can never be forced. And connection that requires you to sacrifice your peace is not connection at all. It's control. Flip the script. When she sees that her silence doesn't unbalance you, it sends a message deeper than words ever could. You are not a slave to emotion. You are not addicted to her presence. You are rooted in something greater, something she can't manipulate. And that's the kind of energy women crave, even if they don't admit it. It's not coldness. It's power. Not power over her, but power over yourself. Here's the truth. Many women use withdrawal not because they want distance, but because they want to see if you will abandon yourself just to close the gap. Don't. Let your calm become the mirror that shows her she can't rattle you. Let your stillness speak louder than chasing ever could. Always asked, what if kindness wasn't kindness, but currency? The hidden trade when she uses sweetness to buy control. There's a form of manipulation so subtle that most men never recognize it until they're trapped in it. It's not insults. It's not arguments. It's not threats. It's affection. She gives compliments. She bakes your favorite meal. She shows you attention, praise, warmth. It feels good, safe, rewarding, and that's the trap. Because just like a dog learns to sit for a treat, some men are slowly trained to behave the way she wants in exchange for emotional rewards. And the moment you deviate, the treats stop. This is not love. It's training. This is the tactic of conditional affection. You get validation, sex, and approval only when you play her game. When you stop chasing, she turns cold. When you set boundaries, she withholds love. When you assert your path, she calls you distant or selfish. Suddenly, you're no longer in a relationship. You're in a reward system, one where your peace depends on pleasing her. And the more you chase those highs she gives you, the more power she holds. Flip the script with Stoic detachment. A Stoic man does not live for treats. He lives for truth. He doesn't seek approval from others because he already approves of himself. His purpose guides his actions. Not praise, not attention, not even love. He enjoys connection, yes, but he's not hooked on it. He doesn't trade his values for closeness. He doesn't soften his stance just to avoid discomfort. When affection becomes a currency, he stops participating in the transaction. Reclaiming your power. Women only use conditional love to manipulate when it works. So stop letting it work. Don't change your direction to earn warmth. Don't become soft just to keep the peace. Don't sell your strength for a moment of praise. Instead, say this silently with every action. If your affection has a price, I'm not buying. You'll be shocked at how quickly the game stops when the reward no longer controls you. Because here's the secret. Women don't want to lead the dance. They want to be drawn into your rhythm. And that rhythm starts when you stop dancing for anyone's applause. And what if silence wasn't peace, but pressure? The passive trap. When she withholds, you chase. There's a kind of manipulation that speaks without saying a word. She doesn't yell. She doesn't accuse. She doesn't argue. She just becomes quiet, distant, cold, detached, and you feel it. That shift in energy, the sudden lack of texts, the short replies, the I'm fine that clearly isn't fine. And your first instinct? You try to fix it. You chase. You question. You explain. You apologize for things you didn't even do. Because it feels like she's upset. And you were trained to believe that if a woman is upset, it must be your job to fix it. But here's the truth. Sometimes silence isn't sadness. It's a strategy. She creates tension to watch how you respond. Will you cave? Will you pursue? Will you jump through hoops for approval? And if you do, she wins. She controls the emotional weather in the relationship. She withholds peace, and you beg for the storm to stop. But a Stoic man doesn't flinch in silence. The power of stillness. When you live with purpose, you don't rush to patch every quiet moment. You don't chase comfort when tension shows up. You let things be, and you stay calm inside it. Why? Because not every cold moment deserves your warmth. Not every emotional freeze deserves your fire. If she wants connection, she can choose it, but she won't control it. This kind of silence is meant to pull you off center, to make you forget your strength, to see if you'll beg for her attention again. So instead of chasing, stand still. Be kind, but unmoved. Be available, but not desperate. Show her that your emotions are not toys she can pick up and throw down, depending on how she feels that day. You flip the script by holding your frame. When you refuse to dance with drama, you end the performance. You're not punishing her. You're not ignoring her. You're simply staying rooted in your values and letting her choose whether or not to meet you there. And the moment she realizes that her silence can't shake you, that's when the real respect begins. Because emotional addiction doesn't come from always being available. It comes from being solid. So solid that even storms can't move you. She's training you like a dog, but it's a real pattern. And if you don't see it, you get trapped in a loop. What do I need to do next to keep her happy? And once you start thinking like that, you've already lost your power. You become a man who performs for peace, not a man who commands it. This is where detachment becomes your greatest strength. Because when you detach from external validation, even from the women you're drawn to, you become immune to praise that has strings attached. You don't need her warm response to feel like a man. You don't need her approval to feel like you're doing it right. You know your values. You know your mission. You know your boundaries. So even when she tries to bait you with rewards, you remain still, unchained, free. This is what Stoic power really looks like. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's not cruel. It's quiet, strong, and untouchable. And when a woman sees a man who doesn't need her praise, doesn't beg for her love, and doesn't perform for her approval, she can't help but feel something deeper. Not just attraction, but respect. Because in a world full of men who jump when called, you're the one who walks by choice. And that, my friend, is the psychological button that flips the entire script forever.